Dell has finally redesigned their XPS lineup, and the new design has captivated most people with its new aluminum finish and near bezel-less display. Could this be the best Windows Ultrabook on the market? I don't know, because this is my second Windows Ultrabook on this channel, if you count the Surface Laptop 3 as an Ultrabook. So let's find out. So first, let's start off with what comes in the box. You get the laptop, of course. You get a 45-watt power adapter. You get a USB-C to USB 3.0 adapter, which I really appreciate by Dell, because if you are taking ports away from us, you should be able to give it back to us through an adapter. But hey, I completely understand those companies who are making us buy adapters as a business move. More power to you. Moving on to my specific configuration, I have the i5-1035G1. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is not upgradable, and I also have 256 gigabytes of NVMe SSD storage, which can be upgraded. Moving on to the ports, we have a Thunderbolt 3 port and a headphone jack on one side, and then on the other side we have another Thunderbolt 3 port with the micro SD slot. But like I said, it comes with an adapter as well, so if you do still have those old USBs, I don't even want to say old, the traditional USB-A port, you can plug it in with the adapter and you'll be fine with the current speeds that you get. All right, so now moving on to build quality, Dell has redesigned this laptop to its older generation XPS. And I've gotta say, like in my unboxing video, this computer is very beautiful. It has an all aluminum outside finish, which is very robust, smooth, and light. Moving on to the inside of the laptop, which can be opened up with one hand. This carbon fiber finish, I would say, is a better improvement than the last generation. It feels a little bit more resistant to the material that gets stuck on it. Like I said before, my previous XPS 15 machine, I would have to wipe down the carbon fiber every week and a half just because of all the residue that gets left. But with this new model, it feels like they really did improve the overall finish of the carbon fiber, and it's very robust and thick. Like, you're not going to break this machine. Well, you could if you wanted to, but this is a very robust machine. Some people might not like how small this laptop is, but I think it's just the perfect size of a 13-inch laptop. I actually prefer it more over the MacBook Pro 13-inch. And overall, I would give the build quality a A+. It's one of the best Ultrabook 13-inch laptops I've ever held in my hands. It really does feel refined and premium. So now let's talk about the display. So unlike the older iterations of the XPS lineup, Dell has gone away with the strip of their logo at the bottom, giving you now a 16:10 aspect ratio. The display that I have in front of me is the full HD+, so it's 1920 by 1200. So with the logo gone, you now have more vertical space, which is really good in terms of productivity. You'll like that whenever you're doing multitasking with two windows open side by side. The colors that I've seen on the XPS 13, I actually really enjoy. They're very vibrant and rich. I know it doesn't score as high on the Adobe sRGB, but I think standalone by itself, that this display is really good. But if you are an artist or a design, or your profession depends heavily on color accuracy, you might want to look into getting the MacBook Pro instead. With that being said, this 13-inch model does have touchscreen capabilities. I think it was only about $50 more at my time of purchase. And it's definitely a good nice to have, because since this device is so small and when you're typing, it's really easy for you to just tap on the screen and continue your works. So the touchscreen is something I would recommend for people to buy, but it's not something that's a deal breaker or a must to have. So the XPS 13 also comes with a 4K variant that is touchscreen, but personally, I don't think it's worth it for people to get a 4K display on this device. I just don't see the purpose of it. I would say you should spend that extra money on buying like a 4K monitor or a TV. You do take a hit on the battery life, even though the colors probably look a little bit more richer. I would say just cap out at 1080p or the full HD plus when buying the XPS 13. So moving on to the keyboard, I actually really enjoy typing on this computer, but know this going in mind, it's a little bit mushier and quieter than traditional laptops on the market. Standalone, I'd give this keyboard an A. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of the keyboard is the backlit keys. I think the first one that comes on when I use this at night is a little bit too bright for my eyes. I feel like I need to reach for my sunglasses when using this at night. But the second backlit key level is a little bit better. But I would say, Dell, if you want to have backlit keys, please make it so the consumer can have a range of the brightness of the backlit keys, because first one's too bright, the second one is still just bright, a little bit dimmer. So that's my only harp on the keyboard. So now with the unlocking features, you do have the fingerprint sensor on the top right, which functions as your power button as well. Now you also do have Windows Hello in terms of facial recognition. So if you look into the screen, it will unlock through your face. So one thing I want to know about this facial recognition, and I don't know if this is just my unit specifically or if it's with Windows, but whenever this computer went to sleep or hibernate and I opened up the laptop, it was trying to read my face. Like I could see the scanners on the top, but it was just a black screen and nothing was happening, and then it would go black and then it would try to read my face again. But the entire time the screen was dark. So I also had the fingerprint reader as well. So I was trying to scan my finger, but nothing was working. So eventually what happened would be that it would time itself out and I would be forced to type in my PIN to get into Windows. So this also happened on my 15-inch as well. So I'm starting to think that it's probably a Dell issue, not so much a Windows issue. So if you are using facial recognition, keep that in mind when it comes up from sleep or hibernation mode. You might get that issue, but like I said, this could be something specifically with my unit. Moving on to the speakers, they are really good. However, at max volume, it does sound a little bit staticky and tinny. But personally, I don't use my laptops at 100% volume. At most, I go from like 70 to 85%. And I'd say standalone by themselves, they are good. And I would say most people would be satisfied with these speakers. Here's a listen. The camera and microphone test on the Dell XPS 13 9300. So even though Dell has talked about significantly improving the video image on the XPS, I still think it looks okay at best. Like it's not like it's anything that we see on the iPad Pro or even on the new Surface Book 3. But you guys can tell me how the microphone and camera sounds to you. I think most people would say that this is probably passable for them because it doesn't really seem like consumers are complaining about how bad video cameras are on laptops. So moving on to the battery life, I got pretty much all day. And what I mean by all day is just 8 hours, the 9 to 5. Using it throughout the entire day, I had no problems, but keep in mind that I was on the battery mode. So if you do go to the max setting, which I believe is best performance, you might lose about 1 to 2 hours. And I'm thinking that if you do decide to go to the power saving mode or the best battery mode, that you might get an extra 2 to 3 hours. But if you do decide to go in that better battery mode, you might be taking a hit on that performance because you do lose a lot of those higher clock speeds. So I want to talk about fan noise, and I'll show you guys a clip after I'm done speaking about how loud these fans get. I would say they're relatively quiet. I didn't really hear them too often. And I would say that when the computer does get hot, which I found to be quite rare, it's really only this top portion of the keyboard that gets hot. And I would say it's nothing unbearable. I could still type. And I would say that it's overall cooler than typing on my last generation of my XPS. So now I want to go onto the dislikes, and the dislikes is going to be a little bit weird because I kind of talked about them earlier in the video, but specifically I don't like the quality control at Dell. And the reason why I say this is because of that Windows Hello thing. I just don't know how, like I said, my unit, it could be I'm the outlier, but that Windows Hello unlocking feature with a black screen and I had to wait like 30 seconds to get into my computer was very frustrating at times, where I would have just opted to just deleting my face on the computer and just unlock using my fingerprint. The other thing that I found really annoying, and this could be my router, this could be Windows, this could be Dell, I don't know. It could be the killer Wi-Fi card as well, but sometimes when I open from sleep and hibernation mode, I just can't connect to the internet. And I'd have to wait 2 to 3 minutes for it to reconnect. If I wanted to do it faster, I would just have to troubleshoot the Wi-Fi options, and then it would just reset itself, and then I would be able to connect to my router again. So I don't know, like I said, if it's Windows, Dell, or my router that's causing this issue. I don't have this issue on my MacBook at all, so I'm kind of suspecting that it's either the XPS or Windows, although it doesn't happen on my desktop. I'm rambling at this point, but so I would say those two things really bug me the most, because overall this laptop is a really good purchase. I think most people buying this laptop know what they're going in for, and especially at this price, you are getting very good value for your money compared to Apple. And just the amount of options you can pick from the Dell website is really good. One of the major benefits of going with the XPS lineup is that even though the RAM can't be upgraded, I just noticed that this was here. One of the best value things you can get from the XPS 13-inch is that you can upgrade the storage. So you're not forced to shelling out a lot of money at the beginning, and you're basically stuck with that storage for the lifespan of the computer. So I would say if you are comfortable opening up your laptop and replacing the storage yourself, please do so, because you will be getting more performance out of the NVMe you can choose, mainly the Samsung Pro Evo, as well as it's just an overall better cost saving measure in your part. You're not letting Dell do the labor and work for you. But if you are a little bit hesitant about opening up your laptop, I would say that extra $50 to getting the 512 gigabyte version is not that big of a difference, or it's not that bad of a deal. I would say that's still relatively good. So now I want to talk about my recommended build in this computer. And what I want to say is, please keep in mind that this is an ultrabook. Please have your expectations set appropriately, right? So if you do decide to get the i7, which would be, I believe, the $1800 model, you are at the mercy of just this form factor and the cooling solution that Dell has, which is really good. But just keep in mind that ultrabooks in general are slim and light, and they're really designed for the pick up and go, use real quick. They're not really designed for, what the XPS 15 can offer. You're not going to be doing, gaming on this machine. You're not going to be doing a lot of high computational things because there's no dedicated GPU in here. The processors are good. They're 10th generation. I believe there's 2 variants of the i5. I would say go with either one of those. I actually don't recommend getting that $1,800 model, even though it is a very nice machine. I don't think people should be getting 4K on this monitor. The i7 is good, it's powerful, but do keep in mind that this is an ultrabook. It is a thin and light device, and getting all that heat and performance out of that chip in this form factor is going to be, well, the heat part's not going to be hard. Dissipating the heat might be a bigger issue. So if form factor is not a concern for you and you're paying $1,800 already, I would say look into getting the XPS 15 or maybe the higher end MacBook Pro. But in terms of the value of your money, try to get the XPS 15. It's not as big as people think, but I completely understand going from this 13-inch to the 15-inch. It is a pretty stark difference. So going off my complete rating of this machine, I would give it an A, but unfortunately with those issues that I've had with this machine, I'm going to give it a B-. It's just, I don't know. That one issue I was having with Windows Hello and the Wi-Fi issue that I always have, it's just a really big annoyance to me that kind of makes me grumpy whenever I want to use this laptop. And it's like I have to wait 1 to 2 minutes before I actually get to use this machine. But if you don't have that issue with yours, don't worry about it. Like I said, I just could have a defective unit. In terms of pricing, Dell likes to change their pricings a lot. I know right now they're doing like $300 something off for Father's Day, at least here in the US. So do keep that in mind if you are looking to purchase this. I know on Amazon the prices are cut a little bit as well, but you just don't have that option to configure what you want. So with that out the way, that's going to be it for me today, guys. I will have my comparison video coming up between this XPS 13 and the MacBook Pro 13-inch. And then I will have the XPS 15 and the MacBook Pro 16-inch. God, there's so many laptops now on this channel to do my comparison and review as well. So if you did enjoy the video, please make sure to subscribe, leave a like if you did enjoy the video. And as always, guys, much love. You know, I know people are going to ask for two things on this video, right? They're going to ask, where did I get this wallpaper? And they're going to ask where I got this wallpaper. So if you stay to the end of this video, link in the description for the wallpaper.